One of my absolute favorite things about the session view is the ability to take samples and loops that we have on these audio clips and manipulate them in different ways and create different variations. And in the long run, what it lets us do is get a lot more mileage out of the samples that we're working with in our sessions. So just to get this process started, normally what I like to do, especially since I'm at this point where I've created all these different scenes, I've got this scene at the bottom right now that had all the 5 original clips that I brought in. Let's just rename this scene Originals. And then I'm going to just move it down a little bit. I usually like to keep a little bit of space between all of my scenes and then the original ideas when I start creating variations like I'm going to do right now. So let's take this bass clip that's called First One, and I'm going to duplicate it. So we'll make a copy right below itself. And we're going to make a variation on this clip. So if I look down here at the tool tab for the clip controls here, we got a lot of different ways that we can manipulate the clip. So for example, we have this clip gain, which allows us to adjust the volume. We have this pitch control, which allows us to repitch the clip and transpose it in semitones, or this box will transpose it in cents, which is more for like fine tuning if you're dealing with like instrument samples that need to be fine tuned. But I'm going to rename this clip. So, it's called First One. I'm going to rename this First One plus 2. And what I'm going to do on this clip is just transpose it up by 2 semitones. So I'm just bringing that pitch dial up to +2, 2 pitches. So let's hear the original. Here's what it sounded like. And it's just a bass note that's kind of just sustaining. It doesn't really change. But if I add this playing after it, now I'm almost creating a bass line out of these 2 different clips. So let's hear that with the drums. We'll play our bass with it. Yeah, so 2 different flavors of that clip, pitched 2 different ways. I could alternate between those to create a bit of a bass line. We can also do things like adjusting the start position and the loop points on our clip. So let's go over to this hi-hat loop here. Let me solo that just for a second. And I'm going to duplicate it again. And let's just rename this maybe 1. We'll just make it a different numbered clip. We'll hit play on it. And let's perhaps start the loop at a different position. So I'm keeping the loop brace, which is along the top of the clip. That's the same length right now, but I'm just moving the start point and just seeing how I can kind of change the rhythm of this loop. Let's play it with our main drums now. Well, let's hear it soloed first. So now it's starting here on what would normally be the 2nd 8th note. Let's hear it with the drums. Versus our original loop. Let's play with some different points here, different start points. That sounds a little bit different, right? It's subtle, but it's definitely a different feel. Interesting. Let's duplicate it one more time. Let's rename it Variation 2, or just number 2. And let's perhaps just loop or play back a shorter section of it. Maybe I'll start it from right here. And then I'm going to click and drag across the waveform to make a time selection. And then I can press Command L to set the loop brace right there. Let's hear what this one sounds like with the drums. Maybe shorten it down a little bit. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit more consistent. It's a little bit more repetitive, so it feels a little more energetic. Let's do something similar with the vocals. Let's take the vocal, we'll duplicate it. Maybe here, we'll keep the start point in the same place, but I'm going to loop the first quarter note of bar number 2 so I can select some time across the waveform, press Command L. So I'll set a loop there, but I'm going to pull the start marker back so it starts at the beginning. And keep in mind, this start marker just means that when we hit play on the clip, that's where the clip is going to start its playback from. So it's going to start there, and every time I hit play again on the clip, it's going to start over and then just kind of get caught in that loop. That's cool. Call that Variation 1. Let's duplicate it again, and maybe we'll call this one Variation 2. And just a quick idea I had is we could maybe extend that loop so it's a kind of a longer loop, a little bit of a different rhythm that we'll hear with it. I like that. We could even just duplicate the entire vocal again. I'll just hold Option or Alt and then click and drag it down here. And maybe we'll take this copy of the vocal and just reverse the whole thing. So if I click on this clip, make sure that I have it selected so that any changes I make down here are applying to that clip. And we can just hit the reverse button right here. Let's see what it sounds like if we play it backwards. That's cool. And then we could do a similar thing. I could duplicate it and set different loop points in it as well. Let's maybe first call this one reverse or just rev. And maybe we'll call this one rev v2. And maybe this one, we'll do something similar. We'll just loop a smaller portion of the clip like so, Command L. Now we can see that my loop length is a little bit longer. I wanted it to be 1 bar, but it's a little bit longer. If I click on the loop brace here, and then I go over here to these clip settings over here, these length settings, we can see that the loop length is actually 1 bar and 1/4 note beat under this length box here. So let's just shorten it down. So now it's exactly 1 bar. 1 bar, 0 quarter notes, 0 16th notes. Let's see how that sounds. That's cool. Very different vocal feel. Let's take our drums over here, main drums, let's duplicate them down. Let's maybe try bringing the pitch down. Ooh, I kind of like that. Drums feel a little heavier, they hit a little harder at a lower pitch. I'll just call this pitch down. You know, I like it so much, I might even replace it up here in my scenes. I'm just Option or Alt clicking and dragging and bringing that in, and we can check one of the scenes out. Yeah, those drums, especially that kick drum pitch down, just feels a little deeper, hits a little harder. So using these different clip controls down here, and even just moving the start point or the loop points in our clips, we can get a lot of different feels and a lot of different flavors, a lot of different variations of our samples, and you can see that we can get a lot more mileage out of existing samples in the session view.